for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Monday, March 17th, 2025 meeting of the Board of Aldermen. First order of business is swearing in the newly elected aldermen from the most recent election. If you would all come here and put your backs to this desk and face the mayor, please.
Let me get your pictures.
And just be careful of the cords.
I wasn't sworn in, but it's all you.
You still good?
I'm living the last of my life here.
Move. People want to take pictures.
I'm good. Everybody in there? Awesome. Please raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your name. I, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of Board of Aldermen within and for the city of Rutland and will therein do equal right and justice to all persons in the best of my judgment and abilities according to law, so help me God. I also solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the State of Vermont. And the United States. Congratulations.
Where are you, Bill?
You can go back and sign your certificates.
Oh, an extra pen if you have.
Here.
Write your paperwork.
Right there.
You want a green pen?
Thank you. Larry, you're right there. Yeah. Kiana.
My pleasure.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, eventually. Oh, I'm sorry, honey. My situation. Right here.
Thank you.
That's okay.
All right. So the first business is I would entertain a motion for a nomination for board president.
I nominate Alderman Allaire.
Second.
Who was the second?
I'll move to close the nominations.
Second.
And, okay. For all those in favor of Dave Allaire for board president, please say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, motion passes.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I was just mentioning to my wife before I came, it's 2 years since I've been in City Hall conducting business, but it's been 10 years since I've been up here attempting to run the Board of Aldermen meeting, and I will sincerely do my best. And I appreciate the support from the Board of Aldermen very, very much. I want to begin, I just got a couple things I want to say, by saying tonight is the start of a new day. The voters were clear in their votes for aldermen that change was needed, and change is coming. I want to thank the board for your vote of confidence, and more importantly, thanks go to the voters for your support on Election Day. Thank you very much. I want to send my congratulations out to the returning and newly elected members of the Board of Aldermen. Congratulations. I want to congratulate Mayor Dunges on your re-election. Congratulations. I look forward to working with you and your administration. Alderman Talbot, I want to thank you for your service here for the last 2 years conducting the Board of Aldermen meeting. I know it can be a challenge, but it's rewarding, and I want to thank you for doing that. We appreciate it very much. A Couple other things before we go, as we go forward. One, that while we may agree to disagree here inside the rail and outside the rail, I would ask that we do so respectfully, and I know you will, that you address your remarks through the chair, and I know you have, but I just wanted to remind you that you do so according to our board rules, and just do so clearly and succinct. That's a tough word. I think I'm going to skip that word. I also want to ask, and this is something that I've been talking to a few members of the board on, the Board of Aldermen-elect as we headed into tonight, that I'd like to ask the department heads or anyone that's looking for action from the Board of Aldermen on any particular Monday night, that you deliver the documents and any necessary backup well ahead of time, preferably when the packet comes out or before, so the members of the board have a chance to review, so that when we come in on Monday night, we will be, sufficiently up to date on what exactly the issue is. Now, I know there's going to be times where things are going to be time sensitive, and you're going to need something that's done right off the bat. I certainly know that from previous experience. So I understand that. But 9 times out of 10, if you could get that information to us ahead of time, it would make things go a lot smoother and a lot easier. So I appreciate that very much. So one other thing before we move into the agenda for tonight, could we please have a moment of silence for a long-time Rutland City fireman who is now retired, who was retired, Mr. Bobby West, and sadly also his wife, who both passed this past weekend. If we could have a moment of silence. Thank you very much. Thank you. And now, I will attempt to get us through the agenda. As I hope we're going to get through this, not necessarily quickly, but just move things along. So, first up is additions, deletions, or other modifications to the agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, modifications? Yes.
If I may, I need to remove the executive session to discuss a personnel matter for tonight's meeting.
Remove that.
Yes, thank you.
That is done. Anyone else? Seeing none. Alrighty. Next up is the amendment or approval of the minutes of the previous meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor to approve the minutes. Anyone have any changes they would like to make? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Motion passes. Next up, we have public comment, and under public comment, we have a Maggie O'Brien from the Rutland Regional Planning Commission to talk a little bit about the local hazard mitigation. And I know it's a rather lengthy document, and I understand you're going to give us a brief synopsis of what's in there and how we're going to move forward.
Yes, that's correct, and I'll try to keep it under 10 minutes. So,
Thank you.
Like Alaire said, my name is Maggie O'Brien. I am the Emergency Management Planner of the Rutland Regional Planning Commission, and I'm here tonight to report on the progress of the Rutland City 2025 Local Hazard Mitigation Plan. So for those of you who need a refresher memory or who are newly elected to the board tonight, back in October I presented the first half of the plan, which consisted of the hazard identification and risk assessment, where we ranked a variety of natural hazards based on their probability and the magnitude of their impacts, and we detailed their impacts on the city and where the vulnerabilities might be for the city of Rutland. So I'm back now to present the complete draft, which has been reviewed and approved by our local planning team. So one thing I'd like to hand out, and it's not in the packet because it's a really quick read, is the local mitigation plan review tool. I also handed this out in October. And really what this is a crosswalk between the federal requirements from FEMA for these plans and where that information is located in the Rutland City Plan. Might be useful for your reference, as Vermont Emergency Management will be using the same tool for their review when they receive the draft. So following the end of the October and November public comment period, the planning team reconvenes to work on the second half of the plan, which starts on page 22. And this is the development of the mitigation strategy. So the mitigation strategy, as the name suggests, is an outline of different strategies and items to address the vulnerabilities that were outlined in section 5. So we start off with a goal statement that the team formulated and agreed to for what the city hopes to achieve with this plan. We listed out the city's capabilities, so essentially the resources that the city has to accomplish the goal statement and the actions located within. We have a quick brief on the city being in compliance with the National Flood Insurance Program, which the city has been a part of since 1978. And we also have a brief on the Emergency Relief Assistance Funding. So the Emergency Relief Assistance Funding is a pot of money set aside by the state. So when there is a federally declared disaster, and there are applications to receive funding for mitigation projects, there's typically a 25% match, which is usually covered by the municipality, but the state pitches in. So right now, the city has a 7.5% ERAF rate. And with the adoption and approval of a local hazard mitigation plan, that rate will jump up to 12.5, as the city already meets all the other requirements. And that will mean that much less taxpayer money taken out of people's pockets when something does happen. So that's a big benefit to having this plan approved. So the planning team evaluated a broad range of actions in 4 different categories, that being plans and regulations, systems, structures and infrastructure systems, natural systems, and outreach and education. So we evaluated these actions according to a range of various criteria to choose the actions believed to be acceptable and practical for the city to implement. The results of that evaluation is on page 29, table 5. And the actions that were ultimately chosen by the team are outlined in Table 6 on page 31, where we have a series of mini project profiles, essentially outlining the lead party for each action, the time frame, where potential funding might come from, and so forth, those types of details. And one thing I want to emphasize about Table 6 is that when this plan is adopted by the city, there is no hard commitment to achieve any of these items per se. This is not a prescriptive plan, this is more of a guidance document. And certainly the city would review these during the next iteration of the local hazard mitigation plan to see which actions have been approved, but there is no consequence for not meeting these actions. And one other thing I want to note is that you'll notice many of the actions as you're looking through them is things the city already does on a regular basis, like regularly cleaning stormwater infrastructure, or things that the city has in the pipeline, for example, through the capital improvement plan. So things that are already being done or in the process of being done. Mm-hmm. So to cap it off, we have a section on how to integrate the plan, information, and goal into other plans and procedures. And this is because FEMA believes this is a critical component in achieving long-term risk reduction. So we address that. And then section 7, the plan maintenance. This outlines how the plan will be monitored on an annual basis, how the actions will be evaluated, and how to keep the plan itself updated on a 5-year cycle, as these plans are only good for 5 years. So with the plan development process nearly complete, the team has worked really hard on this, and so now we are approaching the final stages. So we are looking to finalize the plan with input from the public. So tonight kicks off our second public comment period from March 17th to April 21st. And I have 2 requests for the board, one being that the draft be sent to the Public Safety Committee for a scheduled review before the April 21st meeting. And second being that at the April 21st meeting, there is an agenda item for a public information session to have in-person comments for those who want to give them in person, and also to have the committee give a recommendation for whether the draft should be approved for submission to VEM for their review.
Yes, Alderman Talbot.
It already sits in the Public Safety Committee, so the meeting can be called.
Okay.
So, but the document does not, so we could refer the document to public
I
safety.
think we just referred local hazard mitigation plan is what was referred, so.
Alderwoman McClure.
Just to ensure our bases are covered, I would like to motion the document into the Public Safety Commission for further review in the applicable meeting that is already sitting within that committee.
Okey dokey, is there a second?
Second.
Alrighty, so there's a motion to refer and it's been seconded. Any debate on that? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, motion passes.
All right.
It's in.
Perfect. So for those who want to access the draft, there's a physical copy here at City Hall, or you can visit tinyurl.com/Rutland LHMP25. And all comments should be delivered to me via email at maggie@rutlandrpc.org. And once the public comment period comes to a close, we have two potential paths forward. So if we receive no comments, or if the comments are editorial in nature, then the board may choose to vote on April 21st to authorize the plan submission to VEM for the first step of the approval process. If we do happen to receive substantial comments that may change the substance of the plan, then we will reconvene the planning team, review those comments, review how we want to address those comments, and then bring that back to the board to basically rinse and repeat. I give the same presentation about what changes have been made. So once VEM signs off on approval pending adoption, then the board will vote to adopt pending FEMA approval. And the board will complete Appendix A to provide proof of adoption before final submission to FEMA. We were originally targeting this date for June. Typically, VEM gets back to us within 30 to 45 days with their plan review and comments. That being said, they are significantly backlogged right now. So for instance, in Middletown Springs, I submitted their plan January 10th, and I have yet to receive comments on that. So they're a bit behind. So at some point during the summer, I would hope that we would have a plan with the comments. And then once I do have that, I will reach out to our planning team and to the board and get the item on the agenda for you guys.
Thank you.
So any additional questions?
Anybody else? Yeah, Alderman Donahue? Yeah.
I was just wondering how you made out with your survey. I know I took it online. I know Mayor Gunn just said he took it online as well. And I was curious if you had I know you did a pretty decent outreach to get people to fill the survey, and I'm wondering what your response was on that.
Yeah, so it was pretty good. Appendix C in the plan has a summary of all of our public outreach done to date, including the results for both surveys. We had a survey in the fall asking people to rank which hazards they thought were the most impactful to them. And then the second survey was a reaction to the mitigation items and the goal statement that the team developed. So we had about equal number of responses. I think it was 30 for the first survey and 29 for the second survey. And there was actually some pretty good comments in the second survey that we addressed separately, because they had enough merit that they were worth addressing to. So yeah, you can read more about that in Appendix C.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, Alderwoman McClure.
Thank you, Chair Allaire. Maggie, I would just like to say thank you for being the first person to come up for public comment before a new board. I can only imagine how nerve-wracking that may be. You've done a phenomenal job. Thank you so much for your presentation, and I look forward to hearing more.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Okay, is there anyone else outside the rail, public comment, who would like to speak before the board? And if you could.
Yeah, thank you.
Name and address.
I live here in Rutland City. First, although I didn't make it back onto the board this year, I want to thank all of the voters who chose to cast their vote for me this year and 2 years ago. Serving on this board and serving this community for the past 2 years was a great opportunity and an honor. So I will be trying my best to participate from this side as I can. Second, I want to congratulate everybody who did make it back onto the board, found their way back to this room this year. It's a really exciting time. I'm excited to see all of the work that you guys will hopefully keep moving forward to keep Rutland going in the right direction. And lastly, Chair, I'm guessing you've already been working through who's going to be sitting on committees. Whoever you would select as the chair for Charter and Ordinance. I've got some notes and a little bit of an organizational spreadsheet that I'm happy to share with them, so get them connected with me, and I can hopefully help make that transition a little smoother.
That's helpful.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Anyone else? Seeing none, we will move along to communications from the mayor.
Wonderful. Good evening. First of all, happy St. Patrick's Day. Secondly, thank you. My coat has a little bit of green in it. Sorry. I didn't. Very little. Chair Lair, thank you for recognizing the West. Appreciate the moment of silence this evening. First of all, congratulations to the new Board of Aldermen members. And while we are sad to see some depart, as John walked out, that was fun. I have a funny story. So Alderman Barbara Gallo came into City Hall this afternoon to say two things. One, congratulations, and two, he'd be watching from his couch this evening. He's very happy about that. So we thank the departing board members for their service and the time that they have put in over the past 2 years. Now, for us, meaning myself and the new board, the voters have spoken. They have asked us to work together to maintain the momentum that we have and work to make Rutland better every day. And I expect very clearly from the people that are in this room that we will do that, and I'm very excited about that. We saw the budget pass overwhelmingly. We saw the charter changes and the capital improvement bond pass as well. It was a very resounding yell from the community that they are pleased with the direction that we are headed in and want to see us continue with that momentum. Let's talk a minute about some of that momentum. For those of you who don't know, I have department head meetings, every 2 weeks for most occasions, and I learned two things this morning that I'm going to cover here. One of them was we have just in the past week permits for over 15 new housing units in the city. These are ones we have not even talked about yet. Two of these are two 4-unit buildings, brand new, that are going to be built, and the remainders are renovations to existing spaces that are not housing units at this point. It is very reflective of the demand and the desire for housing in Rutland, and I'm really excited to see that to continue moving forward. The other one is that our police department is seeing a trending decline in call volume. Now, they are already overwhelmed, so to see that go down a little bit, that's very nice to hear. But what this does, and the chief mentioned this morning, is it allows our police department to be more proactive and do the things that the community has been asking them to do, which is more patrols and more getting out on the street and monitoring traffic and making sure people are obeying the law and just being present. So we're very excited to hear about that. We'll continue to watch that trend. We hope to see it continue to trend down, and we know that anecdotally that could be one thing, but the feeling may be another. So we'll continue to watch and report on that. Speaking of good work, I did have the opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. and meet with 3 of our federal delegates, and we only have 3, by the way, and they are doing some good work down there right now. With the changes in administration and the things that are taking place in D.C., there's a lot going on, and whether it was Senator Sanders, Senator Welch, or Representative Ballant, we had conversations about what Rutland needed from them for information, how we needed to continue to see the support from our federal government, and they are going to continue to communicate with us as things change with this administration, as we see potential of grants that we've been given maybe be put on hold, be removed. They're going to keep us up to date, and they were very happy to do that. And they send along their well wishes to you as well, the new aldermen that have been elected. I also, while we were down in DC, it's always fun to see other people from Vermont when you're in a different place. We were able to meet with the state treasurer and have discussions on the plans that he has for the next few years for Rutland and the continued investment he wants to make here. Treasurer Peekchek truly believes that as goes Rutland, so goes the rest of the state, which is why he spends so much time here and continues to invest in our community. Also, speaking of investing in our community, on Thursday on my way back from the airport, I received a call from the governor who was speaking of the end of the GA program. So for those of you who don't know, the governor did veto the Budget Adjustment Act from the legislature last week. There was one thing that kept him from signing that, and that is the extension of the General Assistance Program. This is the hotel program for a longer period of time. What he did say is that what he's trying to do is, rather than extend that program, he wants to get the money to the communities that have needed the supports over that period of time. So we may be seeing a grant come directly from the state, if the negotiations continue with the legislature, from the governor's office through the BAA. That grant would be somewhere, if the governor gets what he would like to see, is somewhere between $350,000 to $400,000 for the city of Rutland to distribute to organizations that continue to work on the homeless crisis in our state, in our community. So with that, I would like to ask the board to refer to committee the potential BAA allocation for addressing the homelessness situation.
So moved. Second.
So which committee would you like to send that to?
Finance would probably be the best one, since it would be dollars.
So the referral is to finance? Yes. Okay, and there's a second.
Seconder agrees.
Alrighty. Is there any debate on that referral? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes.
Fantastic. One more item from me. This evening, if you look at your agendas towards the end, there's our PC appointments section. We are doing some pretty active work, so when you get to that section of the agenda, I would respectfully request that we continue with the process that has been for many years, where the mayor remains on the Regional Planning Commission and the board president remains as secondary. And if you could make that motion this evening, that would help continue to expedite the process as we work through those efforts. And that's just it. That's informational. Any comments, questions?
Anyone?
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Moving along, I don't see any special event permit requests tonight, so we'll get right into reports and letters from department heads and officials. And the first one up is Superintendent Peters. Welcome, and you're going to be talking about a contract from ARC for the Giorgetti refrigeration replacement.
Yep.
Correct?
So, yes.
Okay.
So first, congratulations to the re-elected and the board. Tyler and I will start to invite any new board member, or any current board member to come to the rec to talk about our current projects, Main Street, Godnick Adult Center, and some of the grants that we have out there, and then overall our budget, how that works. So you'll see an email from me, and hopefully you'll take us up on that meeting. I know that Alderman Clifford already came by and got a nice tour of the rec center. But I also wanted to thank Alderman Talbot for his service, because it's very nice to go to meetings and have the president there at all the meetings, and was very important. And he would always beat me. We were always, but he was there, and I just wanted to thank you for that. So, all right, on to business. And so in your pack, it did come a little bit late because we were working on last-minute red lines. This is for the request for the approval for the mayor to sign the contract from American Refrigeration for the replacement of the refrigeration system for Georgetti Arena.
Thank you. Alderman Clifford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a question. What's the timeline on this, Kim? I mean,
Yeah.
when does it need to be?
So yesterday, last week. Our goal is this is a complex refrigeration system that's coming in. The parts have to be ordered. This has been in committee for about 3 years, and now with the funding that we have, we are able to proceed. Tyler can talk about the exact timing of how long, what we're looking at right now from.
Sure. So once we order the package, it's about a 4-month lead time in order to get the equipment. It takes about 2 months to get the package installed, which basically brings up to the start of next hockey season. So if we order it in April, July, August, September, it's in by end of September. We usually start the hockey rink the first week of October to give us time in order to make ice, do our layout, make ice, and get everything up and going. So with the approval this evening, we can make our bid.
Okay, we have several other folks who would like to ask questions. Alderwoman McClure, you're next.
Thank you, Chair Lair. I actually have a point of order to some of our new board members in the corner over there, Alderman Copley and Alderman Clifford. It is very difficult to hear folks from that corner, so if you guys could speak up. These mics pick up for PEG TV, but they do not amplify for the room. And I actually missed the question that Alderman Clifford had asked. If you guys could speak up, that would be great. Sure. Thank you.
Okay, Alderwoman Tadia.
I was going to make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
Alrighty, so there's a motion on the floor to suspend the rules, and it's been seconded. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Motion passes. And you have a...
going to make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the contract from ARC for the Giorgetti refrigeration replacement.
Second.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor to authorize the mayor to sign. So, let's see, Alderman Talbot, you're next.
Yeah, so it looked like there was only a 90-day warranty on workmanship and materials. Do we have a long-term maintenance plan set up?
We do. Currently, so we've been working with American Refrigeration Company, ARC, for short, for probably about 7 years now. We have a long-term maintenance program that we work with these folks. So every year on startup, they go through our entire system. They make sure everything is in compliance. They have been a huge part of getting actually up into compliance with a lot of the ammonia regulations that are out there these days. Ammonia has become a very sensitive chemical. There's been some issues with it over the years, so they've been a huge part for the protection of the city with this chemical that we have. So as part of the plan, they also come out mid-season. They'll do usually a January inspection of everything to make sure everything's running properly. And then they come literally day and they shut us down. So we work with these guys very closely. I have all their cell phones. I text these guys, I call them, I FaceTime them if we have an issue. A lot of times, depending on what it is, they can actually lead us through and help us at the moment. There are things we will not do. If there are things that we can do, though, to prevent the maintenance, for them to drive up here to pay for it, we will do that. But that is obviously to the discretion of us and our abilities. So.
And you got a follow-up?
Yeah, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Just quickly, they will be disposing of the ammonia brine, is it called?
So 2 different chemicals you're talking about. The brine is what's in the floor currently. The brine is actually what keeps the system cold. The ammonia interacts with the brine in a chiller barrel that when they interact, they cool the floor down. Tanner Industries is the only company that is in the United States that deals with ammonia. They will come up, they will evacuate our system into a tanker truck, they will take it away. That's what they do.
Okay, Alderman Donahue, you're next.
Yep, so, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to vote no on this because I feel it should be postponed to the next board meeting. This is a $1,750,260 contract that I had 27 hours ago. The date of this letter is February 18th, and I've been an alderman since March 4th. I got this on Sunday at 3:46. I don't feel it is right for me as an elected official by the people of Rutland to vote on a contract that I have had in my hands for 27 hours of $1.7 million plus. And I feel that we have a responsibility to vet these things, that these things should be at a minimum in the board packet by the deadline, so we have at least that much time to look at them. I would prefer more. But for that reason, I can't justify voting yes for this evening because I have not properly reviewed the document. There are questions I have about not the details of the equipment as much as the details of our opportunity to bid this out and financial discussion that goes with the dollars that we're committing the city taxpayers to, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Can I speak to that?
Go ahead. Alderman Cooper, you have a question?
Alderman Talbot asked my question.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
So this refrigeration system, I understand what you're saying, was actually sent to the city attorney to review for the wording of it. This has been in committee for 3 years now. American Refrigeration has redone this quote price 6 times for us because we've been trying to figure out the financing side of it. You can wait. You're not going to get a better number. We've tried. We've gone out multiple times on bids. There aren't many people that do this work. If we go out again and we bid it again, it may come back higher than what it is. So.
Okay, I got Alderman Talbot, and then I'll come back to you, Alderman Donahue.
Yeah, I very much appreciate Alderman Donahue's perspective, but I just wanted to make clear that considerable time has been put into vetting this entire project, and we have heard from the superintendent and from Director Dahl many times in committee about this item and come up with a plan for where the $1.7 million will come from. And I feel like we've done our due diligence. I do understand that it would have been nice to have more time for everyone to review.
Thank you. Alderman Donahue?
Well, I just reiterate that this is the first time I've seen this document in 27 hours. Okay, so I understand you've been doing this for 3 years. I haven't. I've had this for 27 hours. So if there isn't a problem with suspending, I know we're voting to suspend, we suspended the rules, we're taking it up as a motion to approve it tonight, but if time isn't of the essence as far as April 3rd, I'd be probably happy to vote for this on April 3rd. But I want to be clear, I'm not going to be voting for anything that comes into me over the weekend, the night before the board meeting, from this day on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you, absolutely. All right, anyone else? So the motion is to authorize the mayor to sign. The motion's been made and it's been seconded. Alderman Cooperly.
Is there
Is there any payback? Giorgetti will recap dollars, cents that could set off or set back some of the expense?
In reference to a $1.7 million?
Yes.
So annually, the revenue that comes in is about $160,000. Of course, our expenses for electricity and fuel are in there, so I wouldn't say there's a net every year for Giorgetti. The conversations that have happened in committee is the opportunity of recreation. So will there be savings in electricity and weatherization? We do hope, and that's, we don't know that answer yet. But without the refrigeration system, we will not have a rink.
The refrigeration system that's currently in place is from 1972. It's old. Refrigeration systems are about a 20-year package. We are 2.5 times the life expectancy of this system, and that's what we've been arguing for multiple years. I was around back in 2007 when we installed the system secondhand from Essex Junction. This rink has been successful. It has been a great asset to the community that we live in. This is a huge investment in our community going forward. The rink is well run, programming, maintenance-wise. Kim and I have gone back and forth with this many times. We've looked at the Mayor Georgetti funds, and then this opportunity came up with the capital improvement program, and this is where we went to.
Well, and not only did we, but everybody that ranked the project in the CIP, this became #1 and also was part of the bond. So I also wanted to include that those were the conversations. This has been a long process. If we wait until April 3rd. We have about what we believe when this is signed, we have to wait about another 10 days because of the way the bond is, some processes that we have to follow. So.
And Alderman Cooper, you have a follow-up?
Is there the expense, what has been the expense of maintaining the system that's currently there?
So the maintenance package, as we spoke about before, is about a $12,000 a year package. It's $2,400 a quarter. So it's $2,400 a quarter is what we pay for. And that's maintaining the package. So you throw electricity into it, that's a little bit different. So obviously being from 1972, the system is probably not the most efficient package as it sits. What we are getting is a much highly more efficient package. It's a different system, which I don't think we need to go into at this moment, but the efficiencies of the system are greater than what we currently have.
Thank you.
Electricity should be a big savings.
Thank you.
And Alderwoman McClure.
Just to make a statement as to why I have supported this project in committees in the past over the last session. When we look back to 1972, using myself as the benchmark as the youngest person in the room, that is 27 years before I was born. So that means that this system is almost 50 years old, which Mr. Dolan has described in multiple committee meetings as far exceeding the lifespan of one of these systems, of these types of systems. So I just want to make sure that I reiterate that point to those in this room, that at 1972, that was 27 years before the youngest person in this room was even born, and it has not been updated since then. So we need to make sure we're looking towards the future of our recreation department and looking towards the future of those who utilize the ice skating rink and all of the things included within it as we look to the future of our community.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else? Again, the motion is to authorize.
After a roll call vote, please, Mr. Chairman.
Roll call has been requested. Is there any other debate? If there's not, we will ask the clerk to call the roll, and again, it is to authorize the mayor to sign.
Alderman Heck?
Yes.
Alderman Copley?
Yes.
Alderman Clifford?
Yes.
Alderman Whitcomb?
Yes.
Alderman Talbot?
Yes.
Alderwoman Taddeo?
Yes.
Alderman Donahue?
No.
Alderman Gillen?
Yes.
Alderwoman McClure?
Yes.
Alderwoman Davis?
Yes.
9-1.
Thank you.
9 yes, 1 no. Motion passes. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you all very, very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, moving along. Planning Director Bove is up next. And according to my agenda here, it says TIF funding for VEPC phased filing downtown hotel, White and Burke. White and Burke contract.
Hello. Hello. Hi, congratulations and welcome back. I'm here to ask for money too. But before I do that, I just want to give a quick update on TIF and where we are, and that the board authorized funding for TIF from Zamias and ARPA in 2021 and 2023, and we are very hopeful that maybe in a couple weeks we will have an approved TIF district. Hopefully, it might not happen until April, but we did receive some preliminary comments. They look good. The meeting with VEPC went well, so we are very optimistic that the work we've been doing for the last couple of years is going to pay off. As that work is winding down, we have been starting a new phase of the project, of the TIF project, and that actually has to do with a development project, which is the hotel. So this board has been working on the development agreement and getting things set up for that project, which will help with the TIF filing, but it also starts what's called the phase filing process. So we're actually working on the next phase, which would lead us to potentially a bond vote in November. The money we've allocated to date has been for TIF investigation, TIF district investigation, and the TIF district creation. What I'm asking for now is another chunk of money from the funds formerly known as ARPA, and this was discussed in committee a few weeks ago, to recommend that fund be used for this next phase, and that the mayor, this board authorized the mayor to sign a contract, which is in your packets, for that work until November. And I'll stop there.
Okay, so there's a couple questions coming your way. First one is Alderwoman Taddeo.
I actually don't have any questions, but thank you for your work on this project, and I'm excited to move it forward, so I would like to make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor to suspend the rules. Take the issue up tonight. It's been seconded. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes.
No.
And then I would like to make a motion to allocate $60,000 from the funds formerly known as ARPA to support contracts with MSK attorneys and White and Burke to complete the development agreement, phased filing, project management, infrastructure planning, and the preparation of a TIF bond vote. And then additionally, the signing of the contract with White and Burke.
Second.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor and it's been seconded. So, Alderwoman McClure, you have a...
Alderman Taddeo took my motions.
Oh, there you go. All righty. So, Alderman Copeland.
Yeah, I have one concern. What's available for ARPA funds remaining?
Yes, please.
Yeah, that would be great.
Hi, everybody. We met Finance Committee a couple of weeks ago. The balance left was roughly $63,000. So the request is for $60,000. We bounced around some ideas for that additional $3,000 and what to do with it, and we already have a place in parking, but that we need a little bit more to pay for the kiosk, but that was what was remaining there.
Okay, help?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just do want to add that this money is reimbursable down the road, either through the bond or through increment.
Yeah, I was going to emphasize that this is reimbursable through TIF, and then also that without these funds allocated and this contract in place, we risk TIF sort of falling off track, right? That it's taken us 3 years to get where we're at, and things have been moving pretty effectively and pretty quickly lately, and I'd like to see that momentum keep going.
Very good. And Alderman Gillen.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. President. And I too agree that we need to keep moving with this project. This is a huge improvement to the downtown area. This is what we call our anchor store that we want downtown, technically a hotel. I understand Alderman Donahue's concerns that we need to have a little bit more warning for the meetings, and I totally agree. But this project has been working for 2 years. We have to continue to move the timetable because we have a very tight timetable. Because what we want to do when the bond is agreed upon in November, we need to be in the ground on Center Street. We need to be in the ground at the hotel at the next construction season in '26. So it's very important that we stay on the schedule. So we're not digging the road up at a different time that the hotel is building the hotel. We need to do this in sync together. So that's why we're moving this along, so we can get the money to get the consultants to continue the work. Part of the consultant money is also the PR piece. It's in her contract, and they're also involved in helping us getting the PR out to the community so they understand what the bond's about. They understand the construction season. They understand the communications we have to have with downtown and the taxpayers during the construction phase. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Alderwoman McClure.
Alderman Gillen took a little bit of what I was about to say, but he was entirely right that it would be disadvantageous to the downtown district and the businesses that operate within it to not move forward this evening in the capacity presented. Those downtown business owners are an integral part of our community, and they deserve the ability to have input and to have information as soon as possible.
Thank you. Alderman Donahue.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I just would point out that these projects are so big and so significant that they can't wait 3 weeks till April 3rd, which is our next board meeting. I do want more notice on these things. If I'm going to be asked to vote for these on behalf of the taxpayers of the city of Rutland, I want more notice. So, I'm sorry that these projects have come down to where the window is so tight that we can't wait till our next board meeting to approve them, and we have to continue to suspend the rules, which I think is inappropriate. And it is a vote of 8, by the way, to suspend the rules. So 3 people can change that.
Thank you very much. Alderman Clifford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ed, what is your timeline on this? Is it crucial that this be passed tonight or not?
It is because they're already doing the work. And again, the work started as part of the last phase. So while one is finishing, the other is starting. So it is important just to keep Stephanie moving, to have her sign this contract with us so we can keep rolling. I know the timeline is if we do get a district approved this month or next month, we are actually writing the phased filing right now. So we are doing some of that work that goes into it. Again, this is all leading up to a bond vote this fall. So it is urgent that we pass it as soon as we can.
Okay. Anyone else?
I call for a roll call vote.
I think, excuse me, Alderman Heck had his hand
I'm
up.
sorry, Alderman Heck. I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand.
It's not a problem. So Ed, you're stating that this funding could be reimbursable. Is there a plan to reimburse that, and where would the funds go? And this is just hypothetical type questions as far as that goes. The other aspect of this is when the TIF bond is passed, if the TIF bond is passed. As far as that goes, there's a lot of work to be done, and no one knows better than myself. When money questions go to the voters of this city, it's always one of those things that you're thinking you're going to have a tough time. I haven't seen a tough money ballot question get hammered in 15, 16 years now. So the voters have always been very kind in regards to that aspect of funding projects and stuff. But I can tell you that I know there's members here that want to make sure that when the bond comes out, that it's necessary in making it as low as possible as we possibly can. And there's a big question there. You and I have had conversations. We don't know if it's going to be a $50,000 bond, which we know it's not going to be, or if it's going to be an $8 million bond, or somewhere in between as far as that goes. So the aspect of TIF, and the board's still coming down from the state to let us know if they're even going to grant us the TIF districting the project. So, again, this is a pretty big project, but we are getting ourselves a little bit ahead here because we have timelines and we're needing to make sure that we're following those things. But everything's got to fit perfectly in order for this to happen. And it's going to be an ask by the voters to participate in any way you look at it. It's going to be help secure the funding for a hotel. So at the end of the day, we just need to be cognizant of the taxpayers out there and to do the best of our due diligence in regards to that funding aspect.
Okay, Alderman Talbot.
I just want to clarify for members of the public that the bond, property taxpayers, current property taxpayers are not asked to cover that bond. It's covered by the increment from the new project.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Thank you very much. Anyone else? So I'm going to ask Alderwoman Taddeo if you could just repeat the motion.
Absolutely.
Because I couldn't write quite that fast.
So I would like to make a motion to allocate $60,000 from the funds formerly known as ARPA to support contracts with MSK attorneys and White and Burke to complete the development agreement, phased filing, project management, infrastructure planning, and preparation of a TIF bond vote, and additionally make a motion to authorize the signing of the contract with White and Burke.
Okay.
And I second once again.
Right, yeah. And I know a roll call has been asked for. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Is there any further debate? Seeing none, we will once again ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderman Heck,
Yes.
Alderman Copley,
Yes.
Alderman Clifford,
Yes.
Alderman Whitcomb,
Yes.
Alderman Talbot,
Yes.
Alderwoman Taddeo,
Yes.
Alderman Donahue,
No.
Alderman Gillum,
Yes.
Alderwoman McClure,
Yes.
Alderwoman Davis.
Yes.
9-1.
9 yes, 1 no. Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, next up, we have 2 entries here from Assistant Engineer Gillen, who is not present, but
The chief.
there's somebody else is.
Commander is.
Welcome.
Welcome. Congratulations, everybody. Which one do you want first? Does it matter?
Okay, you can go in order here. So the first one is the 20-year evaluation of the wastewater treatment collection system.
So as part of our new operating permit at the wastewater treatment plant, the state is requiring a 20-year engineering evaluation of the system in the plant. So I'm just asking for referral to committee to talk about the work that's needed, funding, and how to get this done. So.
Okay, so Alderman Gillum.
Mr. President, I'd like to refer the 20-year evaluation of the wastewater treatment collection system to the Public Works Committee.
So moved.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to refer debate. Have anything, Alderman McClure? Alderman
No, I was trying to second his
Refer.
motion.
There you go. All righty.
I agreed with him this time.
Any debate on the referral?
I'd
Alderman Donahue.
like to thank the assistant engineer for referring to the DPW committee.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Any other debate on the motion to refer? Seeing none. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. And the second one, Terrell Street utility replacement. Alderman Gillum.
He doesn't have to talk about this because I can do it for him. I'd like to refer the replacement of the Terrell Street water and sewer utilities to the Public Works Committee.
Second.
Okay.
Anyone who drives Terrell Street can do that.
Yeah, I was just up there a few minutes ago, and it wasn't a pleasant ride. Alderwoman McClure.
I would just like to say that I agree with Alderman Gillum's motion. To the businesses that operate on Terrell Street, specifically thinking of the Beverage Center, Paisanos, and Delvinary's Bakery, it is integral that we take the time to do these infrastructure upgrades to allow them to continue to operate with business as usual.
Okay. Anyone else?
Mr. President?
Yes.
Yes, I'd like to make a comment here. Ted brought this to me, and the department brought this to me, and we talked about it this week, and we said we would bring this to the board and refer it to committee. The reason why, we've already had 4 breaks there in the last 2 years. It is really, really bad. So we now need to deal with it. We have to figure out where we're going to find the money. We got to figure out when we're going to fix this. But it has to be a complete rip, complete replacement to make it work. Because if we just keep going back and Band-Aiding it, it's costing us more money to Band-Aid it than it is to actually do a complete rip and complete new pavement and new plumbing. So we really need to deal with this because it's not going to go away.
Yep.
To their point, the businesses are actually asking for it. You know, they're like, you're sick of you guys fixing it. Let's do
Right.
something about it, which is nice.
Yeah.
But the whole, you know, it needs a, you know, water, sewer, street.
Yeah, the whole 9
sidewalks,
yards.
It's bad.
Curbs, sidewalks.
Yeah, right.
God, I love a sidewalk through there.
Alrighty, so the motion is to refer. It's been seconded. Any further debate? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner.
Okay, Treasurer Markowski is next. And we're going to review the financial reports for February 28th, City and RRA. Welcome.
Thank you. When I was preparing, which you won't believe, but I was preparing for tonight's meeting, I wanted to talk a little bit to start about the process, and it falls right into the some of the discussion tonight, and having the stuff to the board as quickly as possible. And with 2 meetings in each calendar month, it's really tough for me to get everything done to report at the first meeting, which is why I always bring the packet. It's a lot of information to that second meeting. There's quite a bit that we have to do to close the month, reconcile the accounts, to have the information ready for you. So that is why you see it at the second meeting. And I generally don't make a request from the board to take action on it, and it's more of information only. If anyone has question about the process, please.
Alderwoman McClure.
I just had a question looking at the email that you sent here. It outlines general government services, public safety, public works, recreation, miscellaneous library debt, pension, and transfers. Where would the parking fund fall under that, or is that something completely separate?
Yeah, that outline that I gave you is for the general fund and not the parking fund.
Great,
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah. So I've started to do the packet the same every time, so you'll see the same report, so you can follow month to month, and then at the quarter end, there's a little bit extra reporting of all of the funds that we have on the books. So I did want to mention that tonight, and that was before we had started, so I wrote that down because I know that on a Saturday afternoon when I'm sending you 120 pages, there is no way that you can review it, but the process that I go through, I need that time to be able to review and get that out to you. So that is why. So when we're looking at February, February was a busy month. We have our water sewer collection, we have our third quarter tax collection. So lots going on in the office and in the building in February. So when we end February, we have a pretty hefty cash balance because we're not only carrying the proceeds of that collection, but also the $3.8 million that we will send to the school for the education tax that we do early in March. So when you see the cash balances at the end of March, you'll notice a significant change. When I'm looking at, I'm just going to go just quickly down my outline. Delinquent report there, right now you see from prior year, delinquent taxes, 925,000, a little bit up over last year of the same period. It's getting a little bit more difficult. People are stretched. We're doing a lot more payment agreements, so I just wanted to mention that. And Linda in the office is doing an amazing job working with people. Water and sewer balances are over 90 days at 230,000. That is a big change from what we used to carry, say, 3 or 4 years ago. That water shut off and getting into payment agreements has really paid off. So I wanted to mention that. We had one tax sale here in February, sold one property to a high bidder in the city. So the pooled cash allocation, the way the city operates its cash account is pooled cash. So we operate all city funds out of one checking account, the pooled cash account. So then at the end of the month, we allocate how much of that cash is general fund and how much is the parking, the transit, the water fund, sewer fund. So that's what's on that report. looking at the balance sheet, right now, we're showing an unassigned fund balance of 2.9 million. That's higher than we had projected, but it really reflects the changes within the balance sheet and changes to the fund balances. And in this year so far, we had expenditures of 580,000 of what was the ARPA fund. So we're slowly drawing that down, and when you look at the general fund balance sheet, you'll see we still have about 1.3 million that is assigned but not spent from that, okay? And I think we had one sweeper truck that we've been waiting for a couple of years now, I feel like, to have it come in, so we'll hopefully get that and pay that invoice soon, April, so, again.
Was it coming from Tahiti?
It's here with the bill be here.
Yeah, so we're waiting on that, so we're watching that. So at the end of the month, not only are we reconciling all accounts, we're also looking at all those fund balance accounts, what's been spent and what's going to be available. As we get closer to the end of the year, we'll be looking at the unassigned fund balance to see what's available to draw down the tax rate for next year. I do kind of a summary general fund of by department where they are budget-wise. I think you'll see with 8 months in, most departments are right in that range, if everything being equal, about 66%. So I'm really focusing there on the expense categories, but also noted that revenue, non-tax revenue, those are the items, the recreation fees, building and zoning fees, all pilot. That number is at 86% of budget at the end of February. So that provides a nice offset for the tax rate, all of that non-tax revenue. The water fund and sewer funds with the two billings, the water fund revenue at 58%, expenses at 75%, sewer fund revenue at 53%, expenses at 69%. And again, it's not always equal, so that 75% might be a little bit high. We don't know what, for the balance of the year, but parking fund revenue is at 60% of budget, expenses at 17%. I don't know how that will land at the end of the year. Remember, in the parking fund, we took the position out of there, so that's going to benefit, and maybe we can turn that fund around next year. Transit fund, always tough through the winter, and expenses exceed revenue by 48,000 at the end of January. Just quickly on the RRA, we have a cash balance of 155,000 in there. The RRA has a significant assigned balance for the Rail Gateway project, almost 50,000 for business development, 26,000 for administrative reserve, and 45,000 for capital projects. Revenue is on target at 76%, and expenses are at 61%, but we are already looking in the RA we are without the executive director, so we will likely have additional funds at the end of the year. So on that, I wanted to note some of the things we are working on. Have a few tax sales that we will hold in May. Water sewer shutoffs, I know Linda's already started on a list. We had a list of people on payment agreements that didn't quite follow the agreement. So that's kind of the way our process will start. So we'll work with DPW on those. Believe it or not, still working on the FY24 audit, finishing that up with the auditors. We're required to file that by the end of March, so that's getting really close. So I'm working on that. Bond applications are due early May with the bond bank, so we had one bond, I think it was last year, the $2.5 million for the water mains. It might have been 2 years ago. So when I work with engineer Gillen, Ted Gillen, we're working on that project. Do we need to go to borrow now, and when will that project start? So we have that. bond application and then the CIP bond, that's where that bond is for that Giorgetti project. So that is going to be funded, that's going to be our first project out of that capital reserve fund. So that 1.8 million. So I'll work with the mayor's office and work on that bond application for that as well. And then when we talk about ARPA, we have already spent all of our ARPA dollars, but we still have required reporting that's coming in April. I wanted to mention I've already scheduled the pension meeting for May. It's really difficult to schedule the city, the school, and the investment manager, so I already put it on the calendar for that. And one thing that I'm working on that I'll bring to the next meeting is the debt schedule, updating the debt schedule. I wanted to share that with the board, what's on there, what we have approved that we haven't borrowed yet, and just get that in front of you. There's some annual reporting that we do with bond compliance, so I'm working on that as well. So.
Good. I think we got a couple of questions, at least one. Alderman McClure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Treasurer Markowski, I'm wondering if you could take a moment to walk through what exactly a tax sale property is, and how someone may be able to take advantage of that. I've gotten a few questions about that in the last few weeks because of that one tax sale property going away. So I would like to take a moment to explain to the folks at home what exactly that is.
Okay, we go through our list. We use really outstanding balance. They haven't paid in probably 3-4 years, and if the balance is high, we're going to send that to tax sale. We work with a local attorney on that. The rules in tax sales have changed a little bit. We have always offered payment agreements. We always try to do that mechanism. Now the rules require that payment agreement, so that I think we had a list this year, and I think most of them worked out through payment agreements. When we have a high balance, when we're doing a payment agreement, our expectation is you're going to pay half, and then we'll get into an installment. So it's still a lot for folks on a tax sale, but there are reporting requirements to the homeowner to advise that the tax sale is going to happen. Schedule it. We have a huge email list of folks that we notify. So if there's someone that is interested in an upcoming tax sale, please contact the office and we'll share that information. And it's not just property taxes in the city, it's water and sewer. We can tax sale a property for past due water and sewer balances.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions for Treasurer Markowski? Yes, Alderman Donahue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mary, I just wondered, what is the rule of thumb for municipalities as far as sort of writing off delinquent taxes? I see you've got back in 2009 on here. Is there a point where we just kind of clean that up?
Nope, we expect everything is collectible. We really try to do that. So we treat it all as, when I work with the auditors, we may flag something as make an allowance for that, but we always expect to, that customer to make the payment. So there isn't really a write-off policy.
Is there any difference between other municipalities and us on that?
I'm not sure. The process of abatement is sometimes a mechanism that folks could use, but if I'm writing something off, it depends. I'm typically not writing something off unless there's an underlying reason why, and we go through Board of Tax Abatement for that. But
I just want to point out that I'm happy to get this over the weekend. It is a lot to look at. I plan on spending plenty of time looking at it.
Good.
But you're not asking for a vote, so I don't have an issue with it.
No. So, and please feel free to come in, visit with me and go over numbers if you have questions. Anybody, even on a Saturday. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. And next up, it looks like it's our city attorney. He's going to talk a little bit about the open meeting law.
Yes, and I do have a handout for this, but don't worry, I'm not going to ask anybody to take any action on it. This is a cheat sheet for you all. So I just wanted to take an opportunity to give a little bit of an open meeting law refresher, as there are some returning folks to the board who may not have been on in a little while. Some of the laws have changed in the last couple of years and been tweaked a little bit. So I just wanted to go over a quick rundown. You'll probably periodically get these little updates from me on reminders of, open meeting law or other aspects of the law that are relevant to your positions, just so everybody's kind of on the same page. So just running down kind of the cheat sheet here really quickly that I've provided to you, describing what open meeting law applies to, which is to every public body of the municipality, which includes this and all of your committees and your boards. A little bit about the advance notice requirements and that the agenda must be posted at least 48 hours in advance. And thank you all in the past for all of your coordination and making sure we get that out and get that posted on time. A little bit there on special meetings for urgent matters that cannot wait until the next regularly scheduled meeting. But things that are not so urgent that it requires an emergency meeting. Emergency meetings are for things that are imminent. Action has to be taken probably within 24 hours or less. There is no requirement to set an agenda for those meetings, but public notice does have to be provided as soon as possible in those events. As far as I know, and as long as I've been here, we've never had to call one for that. Hopefully we never do, and we don't have anything that's big of an emergency that the board needs to address, but there's always a possibility for that. Just a reminder, all business must be discussed in public with the exception of anything that falls under the category of executive or deliberative sessions. There are specific exceptions for those. There does have to be motions and findings made for that in order to enter into executive sessions. That the public always must be allowed to comment. We can set a time for it like we do here for the time behind the rail, or otherwise just make sure that the public can participate. Minutes need to be taken at every single meeting, even including subcommittees and everything else. You do not need to keep minutes on your executive sessions unless you want to remind yourself. Just note that those will not be subject to public disclosure at a later time. And I will do another refresher session about how to take good minutes at another date, but you don't need to hear me rambling that long this evening, I'm sure. And just as a reminder, a public meeting occurs whenever a quorum of the members are engaged in discussing the business of the body for purposes of taking action. This does include electronic things and it is not time bound, so please do not hit reply all on that email because you might accidentally trigger a public meeting that wasn't properly warned and then we have lots of issues later. So just keep that in mind. Same thing goes for group text messaging, online message boards, social media like Facebook, Twitter, all of that. So just be mindful when you're communicating with one another in those settings. That being said, please attend all of the social functions to which the Board of Aldermen are invited to, and don't be shy about doing that. Just be mindful to not keep your discussions at social functions about board business. Talk about something else. We all have lives. I'm sure you can all talk about something, hopefully other than what's going on here at the meetings when you're out and about around town. So that's it for me on this. There are some citations to the statutes there, so you can look back and reference those if you'd like. Always feel free to come and ask me questions, give me a phone call, email, I'm available. I'd offer you a tour, but the legal office isn't nearly as exciting as taking a tour of the rec center. But that being said, I'm welcome to see any and all of you there at any time that you feel like stopping by. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you. I think we have a question from Alderman Heck.
If you can just maybe quickly explain special meetings. What qualifies as a special meeting?
So special meetings are for things, for an example, should something come up that the board needs to address time-wise between now and our next regularly scheduled board meeting, you could call a special meeting to address that time-sensitive thing. It's not something that would be as urgent, and that does have to be called by the board.
But it does not qualify as like a select meeting or a standing committee, anything like that. It's a specific meeting.
It's a specific
It's a full board.
Of the full board.
Yeah.
Sitting as a
In
full
one of those, just as an occurrence where I looked at it, they're stating that if it is warned within 24 hours, it should be in the newspaper or on the radio. And it absolutely makes no sense to me. But if you want to just look into that as far as a qualifying, factor in regards to warning a special meeting, it just seems a little ridiculous. You can't get it in the newspaper.
I know,
or on the radio.
that is in the state statute. The state generally leaves a little flexibility within there to do the best we can, get it out as quickly as we can. Of course, we know it's probably not going to be printed in the newspaper quite that quickly, but certainly get the agenda up on our online page, our website, post it in the usual locations, and try to get that information out as quickly as possible, because we do have an obligation to do that, even though I recognize, and I think the state does too, that's not always a realistic possibility in some cases.
I think, if I may, I think the last one we had was Irene. We had a special meeting of the Board of Aldermen the night that Irene hit, and we were here. And there certainly
we
was
were
not-
here.
Pardon?
We were here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Alderman Talbot.
So our previous city attorney, Attorney Bloomer, gave the board an opinion that all of our committee meetings are special meetings because they don't have a set meeting time, that we warn them on an ad hoc basis when an item is referred and we want to take it up, so that it only requires 24-hour notice for any committee, be it a standing or select committee.
That is true. If they're on an ad hoc basis, they would be considered select committees, but we always encourage, get your notices out earlier and as sooner rather than later on those things. And if anyone wants to start scheduling regular committee meetings, that's also welcome as well.
Okay. Anyone else? Yeah, Alderman Donahue.
Yeah, so just regarding 8 and 9, where it mentions a quorum of members, and so in relation to this group, it's 6.
Correct.
Okay. And also, I just wanted to mention on the Secretary of State's website, they have a 37 or so minute video. It gets into really a lot of detail that I spent my lunch hour watching, because you were presenting this tonight, and I thought maybe I'd see what I could learn before your presentation. But it is actually a really great video, and it gets into all the detail, but at least it's there, and it's very informational.
Absolutely. I'm glad to hear you have watched that, and we encourage everyone to find out more about open meeting law when we can. But for those folks that maybe don't have the 37 minutes over their lunch hour or just need a quick cheat sheet every now and then, provide it anyway. But more information and those resources are always great.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, moving along. Next up is under reports of standing committees, Alderwoman Taddeo.
The Community and Economic Development Committee meeting met Thursday, March 13th. The topics were Cedar and the Real Rutland Marketing Initiative update. Members present were Chair Taddeo, Alderwoman McClure. Others were Alderman Talbot, Alderman Donahue, Lyle Jepson from Cedar, Olivia Buxbaum from Cedar, and Gordon Turchillo. The meeting was called to order at 5:32 p.m. Lyle Jepson explained that Cedar recently went through a strategic planning process. Cedar came together 5 years ago. Cedar has one board and one executive committee. The goal is to increase the population of Rutland City and Rutland County. The city was built for 30,000 people, but there are only about 15,000 people living here. Cedar's focus has been on housing, but also has a variety of task forces and committees to improve quality of life in Rutland. Cedar has partnered with Vermont State University, the Mint, Stafford Technical Center, the Hub Co-works, Rutland Young Professionals, and Startup Rutland. Cedar worked with Killington Town to help create a TIF district, which will help facilitate the building of the village at Killington Resort. Cedar has also worked with the Vermont Farmers Food Center to support their expansion project and help the Rutland Southern Vermont Regional Airport secure a federal grant for adding a water pipe that will help support the expansion of the airport. Cedar has supported the Efficiency Vermont program to write grants and supported small business grants. Cedar has a loan fund, which is funded through the USDA and helps support businesses with gap financing when they're applying for loans. Cedar will be holding a Bring Back the Trades Skills Expo to put on an event with representatives from various trade groups, and hundreds of high school students will be able to meet local companies and see potential employment options. Cedar's goal is to foster economic development throughout the region. Cedar's goal is also to bring more people to Rutland. Cedar is helping to create the infrastructure to support people to move here. Cedar also works to bring people here. Olivia Buxbaum presented on the Real Rutland Marketing Initiative. She presented on the concierge service and the successes the program has had. Over 230 individuals have moved to Rutland County since 2021, and over 100 new families to Rutland County. Specifically, 48 families and 109 people have relocated to Rutland City since 2021. Cedar also focuses on retention of city residents and does this in part by facilitating meet and greets. One of the campaigns to attract more people is to bring 5 families on a weekend getaway to showcase the Rutland region. By marketing to attract applicants, Cedar's marketing materials reach over 500,000 people. Overall, Cedar has been very successful in bringing in and supporting people to live in Rutland. This meeting adjourned at 6:18 p.m. No motions were needed. This is for information only.
Okay, all right, very good. Thank you very much. Alderwoman McClure?
Thank you, Chair Allaire. As one of 4 attendees to this meeting, I would just love to speak on the fact that the data that Olivia Buxbaum provided was phenomenal. And I would like to speak to a point that she had made in that meeting. Many of the people who are relocating to Rutland City and Rutland County as a whole through this Real Rutland program are doing so because of our progressive and forward-thinking mentality for our communities. There is so much amazing things happening in Rutland City, in Rutland County as a whole, and on a nationwide level, people are taking notice. These people are LGBTQ folks who are looking for a safe and comfortable community to relocate in. These people are climate refugees looking for places that they can still have seasons and not need to worry about wildfires. It is an amazing, amazing feat that we have the Real Rutland program, and we are bringing, according to these numbers, 109 people to our city directly and over 200 to our county as a whole, where these people all funnel into Rutland and spend their money here because we are the largest municipality. We are the metropolitan area of the Rutland region. So I would just like to say thank you to Alderman Taddeo for calling this meeting, and thank you to Olivia Buxbaum and Cedar for providing this data. And they did provide those of us who attended with copies of the slideshow from that meeting. So if anybody would like to see that hard data, please let me know. I'm more than happy to forward it.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much, and thank you. Okay, let's move along. No select committee reports, representatives, petitions, nothing under the Board of Control Commissioners of Cannabis. Next is unfinished business, residential property tax stabilization for condos 7 through 12 at 24 Whale Street. So, Alderman Clifford.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to refer this back to the Community and Economic Committee. This is the benefit of the new alderman, because I don't see anything in the packet.
Okay, so the motion is to refer the issue to Community and Economic Development. Is there a referral? Or a second, excuse me. Yeah, there is a second. So there's a motion on the floor. So debate on that.
Yep.
Alderman Talbot.
So I can understand that this may be the first time some folks sitting on this board are seeing this, but we've already asked this developer to come to an awful lot of meetings, I think 5 meetings. This was brought to the Rutland Redevelopment Authority in January, who vetted it, who approved it unanimously, I believe, and sent it to this board. She then came and it was presented at this board by Barbara Sprawling from the Rutland Redevelopment Authority, referred to the Community and Economic Development Committee. We met on, the Community and Economic Development Committee met on it and unanimously approved the tax stabilization plan. After much discussion, it was brought back here. It was not voted on when it was read out initially because someone needed to check in with Stephanie Clark from White and Burke on something on how this would impact the TIF calculations. And I believe maybe Bove can speak to this or someone else, but now that that's been done, it's coming back here. So I would hate to hold up this project. This is like a $2.3 million investment in downtown Rutland that's scheduled to come online in a few months.
Okay, thank you. So I do see your hand, Alderwoman McClure. I know Ms. Purcell is up at the podium, and perhaps it might be helpful for the board to hear from her, and then we'll get back to the debate.
That was my request, to allow the board to hear from Ms. Purcell, so that's perfect.
Hello, my name is Claire Purcell. Welcome to the new board members. My husband grew up here, and I'm from Australia, if you couldn't tell from the accent. Came back a few years ago and heard the call for new housing, and so we purchased the level above what used to be table 24. And in the next couple of months will soon hopefully be a new restaurant, as someone is reopening that. But I can't tell you about that. I can only tell you about my project, which is the 6 apartments. We're converting the commercial offices that have been vacant for 5 years into 6 residential apartments, 1 and 2 bedroom. We've received VHFA funding through the Rutland Revolving Loan Fund, also the Roofs Over Rutland funding, and then my husband and I are personally putting in the cash for the deposit, and currently have been funding the construction to about 50% solely through our own cash. We are aiming for closing this week, actually on Wednesday, and one of the required documents is confirmation from the town of Rutland that we have clarified what the tax is going to be. So my hope with all the delays that we've had was that we might just squeeze in there. If we delay a decision tonight, then we will need to delay the closing and therefore delay the bringing on of the units by a few weeks. All else being equal, they should be online sometime in June, but if everyone could touch all the wood in the vicinity on that statement, that would be great.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. And Alderman Donahue, what is your point of order?
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, I don't have the tax stabilization agreement in my packet.
Okay. And Alderwoman McClure had her hand up, and then I'll go to you, Alderman Davis.
I'd like to call for a roll call vote on the subject.
Okay, when we
Thank
get
you.
to the, when we get to the
have a
vote,
motion
we'll
yet,
call a
do
roll.
we?
Well, when we get to the motion.
So I agree with Alderman Talbot. I guess what I need to know is what, because we did hold it for an impact, or for at least a discussion of what, if any, the TIF will impact these tax stabilization issues. So I don't know that. To Alderman Donahue's point, we don't have anything in our packet that's clarifying anything that we held up.
Okay. Let's go one at a time here. Well, let's get enough information that we can try to clarify this. Okay, Ed, why don't you go ahead?
Thank you. We're actually pulling this property out of the TIF district because it's already moving along. The premise behind TIF is that without the public infrastructure, there would be no development. We have development without the TIF, and therefore Stephanie has recommended that we not include that in the TIF calculations.
So if I may.
Go ahead, go ahead.
So there'll be no benefits, so to speak, that she'll receive from the TIF district?
No, except she'll receive a brand new Whale Street.
Right.
Yeah, she'll get that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You got that? Okay. We have a couple down here, and then I'll come back up this way. Alderman Heck, go ahead.
I'm wondering if Assessor Langlois could just share some of the stabilization numbers for the newer board members of what we're looking at for stabilization and for what length of period?
I haven't seen the document, so I don't, I haven't seen the tax stabilization, so I don't know. All I request is that it be as of the value of April 1st of 25, and she's also briefed the taxes too, so we'll be looking at the assessment going forward. But I don't know how financing is based on it, because you wouldn't know the taxes now anyways, but so that's all I have really to say.
Just one at a time.
I haven't seen the document, so I don't know. I can't speak.
One at a time. One at a time. Alderman Heck, you have anything else?
No, that clarifies it.
That clarifies that, okay. Alderman Kupali.
Yeah, thank you for being here with us this evening, but some of us are not even familiar with the project. However, I've heard about it through the TIF district and so on, a couple of meetings. My question is, what are you anticipating for rents? What are you going to be renting these units out for?
Yeah, so there's a requirement with the RLF that they are rented at what's known as 90 to 100%, 20% AMI. And so that means that I can only charge rents that that income bracket can afford on 5 of the units, and that I can only rent 2 people in that income bracket for those 5 units that have the RLF funding. The actual amount of what is 90 to 120% of the annual median income is anywhere between $1,800 and $2,400 for a single person, 1-bedroom apartment.
Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, over here, we got Alderman Donahue, and then we'll go to Alderman Talbot.
Yeah, and Mr. Chairman, I don't think the city, at least to my knowledge, in recent years, past years, have, to my knowledge, approved a tax stabilization agreement for residential property. It's typically commercial, it's typically driven by job creation, is one of the main factors behind tax stabilization. You're basically This and the TIF district are two different things. And this property actually has to be removed from the TIF district. It's currently in the TIF district, and it was an error because the project's already started. It has to actually be amended to remove this property. That's different from what we're talking about with tax stabilization. We're talking about everybody in the city paying their property tax, but we're saying this one is stabilized and does not have to pay based on some schedule that is a mystery. I haven't seen it. And that's what we're asked to vote on tonight, seriously?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Alderman Talbot.
So, the tax stabilization agreement that we discussed in committee was a 5-year agreement, increasing it 20% every year until it reaches full value after the 5 years. We won't know what the new assessed value is until after the city assessor assesses it, after work has been done. Yeah. And I mean, to the housing thing, I looked up, we've done, this board, before I was on it, has done many tax stabilizations for other projects, and jobs may have been the priority at the time, but the priority that we're hearing from everyone is housing now that we're in a housing emergency in Rutland City.
All right, thank you. I'm going to go to Alderwoman McClure, and then I'll go to you, the mayor.
Thank you, Chair Lair. I would just like to ask Ms. Purcell, what amenities would be included within these units at the price point that is provided? They sound like they're going to be really nice, so I would love to know what's going to be in them.
Yeah, Rutland can have nice things, and I think we need more people downtown that want to spend on nice things and want to create and be a part of nice things. But yeah, all the amenities are included in that. It's a low energy efficient. It is a highly energy efficient, so uses less energy. We've made it all electrical and working very closely with Efficiency Vermont. There's nothing, they're going to be beautiful and wonderful to live in. They have heat pumps and air conditioning and all of that. So yeah, it's going to be a really great place for people to live and reside in downtown and do their shopping.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, go ahead, Mayor.
Awesome, thank you. So just to discuss the issue of tax stabilization for housing specifically, because I think that's a good question. The state did a lot of work in the legislature over the past few years to come up with a state program. And that's not what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about the city, obviously. But that program was developed for housing, to stabilize taxes on housing on the state level. And the reason for that, and this is what's the important part is in order for developers to come and build market rate level housing, right? Not affordable housing, because there's a lot of grants and things that exist for that, but market rate level housing, a lot of the numbers need to work out. And as our state treasurer likes to say, the math needs to math, right? And the idea behind that is, in these cases, with the limits that are set by the programs that you're involved in and others, we need to be able to make the math work for these developers. So this tax stabilization, as Alderman Talbot pointed out, is a 5-year stabilization with an incrementing 20% increase every 5 years. This ask is just for the city side taxes, and the previous board and the RRA have recognized all of that because we need to look at these pieces, these points of growth, and really work on those throughout the city. So anything that we can do in these areas to match what the state is doing on their side, I think is very beneficial. That particular bill, S311, was supported by many on both sides, and then that got merged within 687, which is the land use bill, and ended up being Act 181. So those things are incentives to get more development done in Vermont, and I think that it's advantageous of Rutland to look at these opportunities and take advantage of them where possible for housing as well.
Okay, thank you. So I just want to remind everybody, we are voting for a referral here back to committee. This is not an up or down vote. This is a referral back to committee. Alderman Gillen.
I just want to make a comment. I believe that the stabilization is only on the municipal side. Am I correct? Yes. It is not on the school side.
Can't do anything on the school side.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Alderman Talbot.
Yeah, I certainly fully support all members of the board having all the information well in advance so that they can vet it, but I would, I'll be voting no on sending this to committee. I feel like we've put Mrs. Purcell through quite a number of meetings so far, and we have thoroughly vetted this, and that we need to approve it so that she can move forward with the project.
Okay, thank you. Alderwoman Taddeo.
I just want to echo Alderman Talbot's point that I, as the former chair of Community and Economic Development, Mrs. Purcell came before us and spoke, and the Redevelopment Authority has thoroughly vetted this and recommended it to move forward. This was read out of committee at the Board of Aldermen as a whole, and we were planning to vote for it, but her project was put on hold so the city could move forward with our project. So I'm hopeful that we can move this forward tonight for her, given her tighter timeline, so that we can get more housing online quickly. Thank you.
You're welcome. And Alderwoman McClure.
I just would like to reiterate that my request for a roll call vote still stands.
And I have it marked right down here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Alderman Donahue.
One last point, just in referring this back to committee, I would hope that we would know how much tax we are stabilizing, because right now that number is also a mystery.
And Alderwoman Davis.
Just the concern is we do have a lot of new members, and in all fairness, when we put the agenda together, we should be putting the information in. But with that said, my biggest concern is the city assessor doesn't know it, and that's a problem. The city assessor needs to know what the tax stabilization agreement is and at what cost. So I don't know where that ball got dropped, but it got dropped.
Move the question, Mr. Chairman.
The question's been called already. The motion, I think it's a motion to call the question, if I'm not mistaken. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. The question's been called. Again, this is a motion to refer back to Community and Economic Development. A roll call has been requested. I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderman Heck,
Yes.
Alderman Kubley,
Yes.
Alderman Clifford,
Yes.
Alderman Wickham,
Yes.
Alderman Talbot,
No.
Alderwoman Taddeo,
No.
Alderman Donahue,
Yes.
Alderman Gillen,
Yes.
Alderwoman McClure,
No.
Alderwoman Davis.
Yes.
7 to 3.
7 yes, 3 no. Motion passes. Okay. Thank you very much. All righty. Moving on.
Good job, guys.
And let's see. Miscellaneous motions, resolutions, and new business. First is the Rutland City membership to the Otter Creek CUD. Alderwoman McClure.
I was raising my hand to be recognized at the end of the list for new business. I have a separate piece of new business I would like to bring up.
Okay, well, we'll get to that when we're at the end. I'm sorry, you mentioned something, Mayor, that was at the end of the meeting that you wanted to address, and I lost my place.
Yes, so if you look in there's 3 items in miscellaneous motions, resolutions, new business, the Regional Planning Commission Board.
Point of order, the Otter Creek CUD is the first.
Yeah. He's just clarifying where he was
Okay.
needed to talk to, so, and I appreciate that, thank you.
So,
Alderman Talbot.
I would make a motion that we refer to committee discussing removing ourselves from the Otter Creek Communications Union District. Rutland City is fully built out with fiber internet at this point. And in the past, we've had difficulty appointing a member of this board to serve as the representative and make their meetings at the times they hold them.
Second.
We're more of a liability for them at this point than an advantageous member.
Okay, and so the referral is to what committee?
Whatever the board chooses.
General, how's that?
Great.
A motion to refer to General Committee, and it's been seconded?
Yes, sir.
Okay, any debate?
Yes.
Yes, Alderman Gillen.
The contractor who was working on that project, as far as I'm concerned, has not completed the project, because we have a lot of wire hanging all over the place on all these streets, especially my street and Baxter Street and other streets, got big loops of wire hanging on them. That was supposed to be removed under the contractor coming in doing the fiber optic, and it has not been done. I would like that also referred at the same time to deal with that issue.
So I would imagine that would be a part of the discussion.
I hope so.
Yeah. Mayor, you have something for that?
Yeah, just real quick, we don't need to dive deep in it. The contractor that did the wire throughout the city, was not directly related to the CUD. So I can just reach out to them and have a conversation with that company, and I think that you can keep it out of that conversation.
Okay. So the motion is to refer the issue to general committee. It's been seconded. Any further debate? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed. Motion passes. All right, now Rutland Regional Planning Commissioner. I think the mayor would like to speak on this.
Yes, thank you. So, the Regional Planning Commission requires that every year that we reappoint the representatives to the commission. And in the past, it's been, prior to my administration, the mayor has been the primary seat and the board president has been the secondary. And I just ask that you suspend the rules and consider making that motion this evening.
So,
Motion to suspend the
my
rules?
understanding, if I could, just from my perspective, I thought that was a Board of Aldermen appointment. Maybe I miss.
It is, but the RRPC's bylaws require that this body vote on the appointments.
So I would say that the order of events would be, I would suggest who it is, and then we vote on it at the next meeting. That would be what I would suggest. Would that be amenable?
Can I, go ahead, sorry. I'll wait.
So they sent the request to me as the outgoing board president, and I forwarded it on for inclusion on the agenda. They have a meeting next week, and they would like to, they require that we reappoint someone or that we don't have a vote at that meeting.
Right. And I served on there for about 15 years, and numerous communities at one time or another are absent from that meeting, and business continues on. So I think if we missed one meeting, we'd be just fine.
Do you mind if I still attend and just?
I don't mind at all.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Alrighty. Okay, so that takes care of that one. And representatives to the Regional Transportation Advisory Committee. Alderwoman McClure.
Yes, I would just like to state to my fellow board members, while this is a seat that I have previously held, unfortunately is not a seat that I can maintain due to scheduling conflicts. I have standing meetings on the same Thursday of the month that this meeting occurs. I have been in very, very close contact with Ethan Pepin, the transportation planner for the RRPC, and we've determined that I may not be the best fit to continue on with this role due to my scheduling conflicts. So I would just like to make that statement public to the board that this is a seat that I will be stepping away from, and it's free game for whoever wants it. And Ethan does a really good job ordering good pizza, so if you want a good snack during the meeting, he's your guy.
I'm a big pizza lover, and
it might be yours then.
I served on the TAC for a lot of years.
Might be yours then, Dave.
It might be, but thank you for that. I appreciate that. All right, so that takes care of everything that's on the agenda. Somebody mentioned that they had something for. Okay, we had a couple down here. Alderman Heck, why don't you go first?
So now that we're discussing appointments and stuff, I don't know by charter, but if the city attorney could help with us a little bit, I believe that the mayoral appointments usually, follow up after the meeting. There is a timeline when those announcements are supposed to be made. I'm not sure when the mayor will be making those appointments, but I think they need to come sooner than later. So just looking to see if we could look into that specific criteria for appointments.
If I may respond.
Sure, please, go ahead.
So I can say there is a certain deadline for that. I believe it's still a ways out, but I can look up and find the specific date and report that back to the board before the next meeting.
Okay. Alderman Heck, all set?
Good.
Thank you. Alderman Clifford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to refer the JCI contract to the Finance Committee for just an update for the new alderman and where we are and what the cost is up to date.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, the motion is to refer the JCI contract to finance to get an update on where that all stands. Yes, Mayor.
It is currently residing in the Finance Committee, but you can motion it there again if you like.
Okay.
Well, if it's in finance, we don't need to double down on it, do we? But we will get a meeting going on that, I'm sure. Yes, you're welcome. Alderwoman McClure.
Thank you, Chairman Allaire. I have a double statement. One is to all of the incoming board members. As many of you know, Alderwoman Taddeo and I worked very, very closely last year in the Human Resources Committee to come up with the Rutland City Board of Aldermen social media guidance document. If anybody has any questions on that document or questions on what you can do to help create a social media page for yourself that is publicly accessible to the voters, please don't hesitate to let me know. As I've said many times from behind this desk and this microphone, social media management is my day job. It is my bailiwick. I am more than happy to help, but I would like to make sure that folks know that if you are providing alderman communications from your personal social media page, you are not being transparent. You are not being equitable or accessible to the rest of the community, because the only people who can view what you post from your personal page are the people you are friends with on social media. So unless you want 15,000 Facebook friends to accommodate for the 15,000 people that live in Rutland City, you are not being transparent and accessible by providing alderman communications from your personal social media page, as many in this room currently are doing. My second statement I would like to provide within that realm of social media management is something that I would like to mention, and unfortunately it seems like Department Head Peters is not here. I would like to speak to the circulation of faux events on social media. I very, very strongly encourage community members who are looking to table at events, looking to participate in events, to very critically look at the social media posts that may be circulating regarding them. There was a scare that passed through this past week on social media through multiple Rutland City community groups. I got multiple calls about it over the course of the last week, and it was an alleged crepe festival. And this festival was being put on by an AI bot on Facebook with a faux profile that was created the same day that joined all of these Rutland City community Facebook groups on the same day to advertise their event. More often than not, if a social media page has been created the same day and joined a group the same day, it is not a real human being. Please do not give them your credit card information. Please do not give them your personal information. I strongly recommend community members who are looking to participate and table at local events to reach out to City Hall and reach out to the Recreation Department to ensure that an event permit has been filed. More often than not, as we can see with the example of the For the Love of Kids car show at the fairgrounds, people will file an event permit for a community event even if they don't need one, because it's great marketing for them and it creates a log on the city end of what events are existing. Please, please, please look at the city website, consult with the city clerk, and consult with the Recreation Department if you are looking to participate in a community event. The last thing that we want is somebody thinking they are uplifting our community and instead they are getting their information stolen. If anybody has any questions about social media literacy and what they can do to become more familiar with scams on social media, again, I strongly recommend them to reach out to me. This is my day job. This is my life. This is what I do. I am more than happy to help, but I can't help unless people ask. So thank you so much. And again, this is a standing invitation to all members of the community and members of the board. So thank you.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor to adjourn.
Second. No.
And it's been seconded. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed. Motion passes. We're adjourned.
Next meeting.